Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We are live from Nashville, Tennessee, and today is Wednesday, December 11th. I am your host, Josh Newberg. We are 1 week removed from high school signing day. I don't know about you guys. It feels like it's been about 2 or 3 weeks. For me, there's been so much going on, and you know where. It's been in the transfer portal. So in today's show, if it gets recruited, we cover it here on the Inside Scoop. So today, we're going to cover the transfer portal. It opened on Monday, so we're about 3 days in. So much has gone on. We're going to start with some former 5-stars that are now in the portal, but then we're going to hit on Oregon recruiting, Alabama, and the Florida Gators. So it's a big show today. Let's get to it. Let's talk transfer portal. But in this video, I'm going to highlight the former 5-stars that are now available in the portal. Yeah, well, coming out of high school, they were 5-stars, but now they're transferring. There's 11 total that I counted in the transfer portal. Only one of them currently is committed. So we're going to recap them all. Let's start with quarterback Jackson Arnold, the redshirt freshman at Oklahoma. He waited 1 season behind Dillon Gabriel before he got his start. He was the number 4 quarterback coming out of high school, number 8 overall. Remember him from Denton, Texas, signed with Oklahoma. Well, now he's on the move. Pete Nako, Steve Wiltfong, they're projecting Mississippi State, but we'll see what happens. Can Auburn get involved? Georgia? We will see where Jackson Arnold lands. Up next, we're talking Williams Nwaneri. Last year's class, he was the number 1 edge, the number 7 overall player from Lee Summit, Missouri. He had a heated recruitment. Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Oregon, all involved, but he ends up signing with Mizzou. Let's check out this tweet from August 14th, 2023. This must have been a significant day. Do you guys remember? This is from the Mizzou account, the school account. Do you remember what day it was? It was the day Williams Nwaneri committed to Mizzou. This was the celebration. A little ridiculous maybe in hindsight now. I mean, you tell me, what was your favorite moment of the Williams Nwaneri era at Missouri? He had 1 sack and 2 tackles. It all came against UMass, and that was a celebration. Coach Drinkowitz, what are we doing? All right. We'll see where Williams Nwaneri lands, but remember, just a year ago at this time, he was getting ready to early enroll at Mizzou. Now he's in the transfer portal. Let's move on to another 5-star edge. This one, Marvin Jones Jr. from the 2022 class. He was one of the most coveted recruits, not just edge rushers, but one of the most coveted recruits. He had a big recruitment coming out of American Heritage High School down in Fort Lauderdale. Came down to Georgia, FSU. He's an FSU legacy. His dad played there. USC, Alabama. In the end, he signs with Georgia. He really never truly cracked the 2 deep at Georgia. He transferred to FSU this past season. Mixed results, but just not a dominant player for the Noles. Now he's back on the market. You think somebody could use him? Where do you think he'll land? You guys let me know. Comment section below. Let's move on to Caleb Odom. He's an on-3 5-star. He wasn't an industry 5-star, but he was an on-3 5-star. Ranked as a tight end, really a jumbo wide receiver, just a mismatch on offense. And he was high school teammates with Julian Lewis at Carrollton High School in Georgia, which makes his visit this weekend to Colorado just that more interesting. Is he going to be reunited with Julian Lewis at Colorado with Coach Prime? Would be an exciting fit. What do you guys think? All right, another tight end. This one, Deuce Robinson. He was a 5-star from the 2023 cycle, 6'6", 230-pound pass catcher. He's out of the state of Arizona. USC signed him over Georgia, Alabama, Texas. Remember, Oregon also involved. He took that recruitment into February. He wasn't ready to sign in the early period. He had to take that thing all the way to February. Signed with USC. He had two decent seasons, 7 touchdowns in 2 years, 23 catches this year, 16 last. Deuce Robinson hitting the portal made me think of something that happened on this channel on Monday. Do you guys remember when Pete Nakos was on and he alluded to quarterback Miller Moss leaving USC, and he said something about a USC package following Miller Moss to wherever he goes? I wonder, now Pete didn't want to say too much, but I wonder if Deuce Robinson is part of that package. We will see. Moving on to another former 5-star wide receiver. This one, Micah Hudson. Texas Tech signed the number 4 wide receiver in America last year, but then they didn't play him. And now Hudson is looking for a new school. He was all Texas Tech during that recruitment. I was shocked he never took a visit to Texas. He was locked in. But now Steve Wiltfong, Pete Nakos, the experts are projecting him to Texas A&M. What do you guys think about that? It's Picksmas season. That's right. We're talking Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks. And this week, I want to tell you about some December promos. How about 1000x payouts? The game just changed with your lineups at Prize Picks. You now have the ability to win up to 1,000 times your money, the highest payout level ever offered at Prize Picks. And that's available now. Also, 5 and 6 pick power plays. You already know the 2, 3, and 4 pick power plays, but let us introduce you to the next level. Now you can craft power plays with up to 6 player projections involved live on the board. It's now, so go take advantage of that. And really, all of December means promos. It's the season of giving, and we only know one way to celebrate that here at Prize Picks: Picksmas. So follow along with us the holiday season for free picks, discounts, free lineups, and more coming at you all month long. So we got the playoffs coming up for college football. NFL football is booming. It's a great time to up your Prize Picks game. Here's what we're going to do. Go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop. Use promo code inside scoop, and I'm going to give you a deal. You bet $5 in lineups, you're guaranteed $50. What that means is you play $5. Whether you win or lose that bet, you're going to have a guaranteed $50 in your account. That's prizepicks.com/inside scoop. Promo code inside scoop. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Another 5-star quarterback on the market. That's Luke Kromenhoek. He was a 5-star on 3. Now remember him. He was a fast rising recruit. He didn't start until his senior year at quarterback. He was named a 5-star late by on 3. Signed with FSU out of the state of Georgia. Knowles were the first to offer. Then he got a whole bunch of offers after that, but he really never wavered. He was locked in, loyal to the Seminoles. He saw action in 5 games, kind of mixed results. FSU fires their OC. Now, he needs to develop, but the tools are there. He's in the transfer portal. I'm sure he will get taken up quickly. Another 5-star we got to talk about from the 2023 class, another bounce back, Jonte Cook. He was the number 3 wide receiver in that class. He had some issues early at Texas, left the program in November. Now he's in the portal. Sounds like he's going to remain in the SEC, maybe A&M, maybe Ole Miss for now. I'm not sure. We'll have to just keep watching to see what happens with Jonte Cook. I know Oregon was a big factor for him during his recruitment, so maybe the Ducks get back involved with Cook. We will see. Now, there's 3 more names that I heard or that I read when I was doing my research to find these 5 stars. And I was like, oh yeah, what happened to him? So the 3 that fit under that category, Arik Gilbert. We'll start with him. 6'5", 240, coming out in 2022. He's a top 25 prospect overall. Maybe it was the 21 class. Gilbert signed with LSU. Then he transferred to Georgia, then Nebraska. Then he got into trouble. And somebody announced that he was in the portal. I didn't know that you didn't even have to be on a team because Arik Gilbert hasn't played for a team since 2022, but he's in the portal if you wanted to take a look at another 5-star. We got Sam Heward, former Washington and Cal Poly quarterback. He's the only one committed. He's off the board. He committed to Utah. So we'll see what the former 5-star can do at Utah. Then we got one last one, Tony Grimes from Virginia Beach, Virginia, the 757. So many good DBs to come out of Virginia Beach. Now, On3 wasn't around when Tony Grimes came out in 2020, but he signed with UNC. He's now leaving UNLV. We'll see if the former 5-star can make an impact in his final season. But those are the big 5-stars that are in the portal. Remember some of these names? What do you think? Boom or bust? Which ones still have some life left in them? Which one would you categorize as busts? And hey, which one of these guys would you want on your team? Let me know. Comment section below. Let's talk some Colorado recruiting. This time it's the transfer portal, and there's a possibility that 5-star teammates could be reuniting in Boulder. We'll see if the portal can make that happen. We're going to dive into some of the intel out of the transfer portal. It's been open for almost 48 hours, but Colorado is getting busy. Trust me. Colorado fans, before we get started, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We're going to be here talking Colorado recruiting all year long, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's get into it. Some interesting names I want to talk about. We're not going to mess around. Caleb Odom, that's the former 5-star that I'm talking about. He's leaving Alabama. Now, last year, he was the number 2 ranked tight end. Actually, he was the number 2 ranked tight end on the On3 industry, but On3, believe it or not, had him ranked even higher. On3 has him as the number 1 ranked tight end in last year's class, number 30 overall, so right there in the 5-star range. Now, this makes a lot of sense because he was teammates with Julian Lewis. Remember that. They were both out of Carrollton, Georgia. Caleb Odom at the time chose Alabama over Tennessee and Ole Miss, but looks like he's going to be making a visit to Colorado soon, and it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up at Colorado. Former Bama transfers Demoy Kennedy and Quan Barnes are there. We'll see if there could even be more than just a Caleb Odom coming in this class. We'll see, but what do you guys think? I mean, this seems like a logical pairing. Julian Lewis probably going to play early. Caleb Odom ready to go right away. Now, Caleb Odom's an interesting prospect because he is 6'4", 220-ish. We had him listed as a tight end, but trust me, he could be a jumbo wide receiver. It all depends on how you want to use him in the offense, but bottom line, Caleb Odom is a mismatch nightmare for defenses. He's an offensive weapon, and just get him on board any way you can. Pair him with Julian Lewis. It could be a beautiful matchup going forward. All right, here's another intriguing name, a quarterback. Liberty transfer, Caden Salter. Now, Salter started that career at Tennessee as a 4-star recruit in 2021. He was dismissed in the spring, ends up landing at Liberty. In 2023, he burst onto the scene, a really good dual threat quarterback in college. Interesting. Okay, so he has 1 year to play, right? The interesting part is you think Julian Lewis is ready to go, but, do you really want to put your whole season on a true freshman? Not saying that Julian Lewis isn't capable, but what if there's an injury? What if he's just not ready to go by the start of the season? At least you have some sort of insurance there with a veteran in Caden Salter. Now, we'll see if this is a good fit, but there are some rumblings, and he has mentioned that he will likely take a visit to Colorado. He's going to take a first visit to Syracuse. There's some other teams involved, so we'll have to see and watch. Just see how this develops at the quarterback position. Pretty interesting. All right, another position in need. Defensive lineman Jaheim Oates. He is trending to Alabama. The great Pete Nakos has put in a pick. Now, there's medium confidence there. Just to let you know, that's what Pete's thinking. He's got medium confidence that Jaheim ends up at Colorado. Big body in the middle, 6'5", 325 pounds. Was the number 77 ranked overall player in the 22 class, number 11 defensive lineman, and he's had some production. 55 tackles, 1.5 sacks in his career at Alabama. He could be a massive addition to that defensive line. All right, we know Coach Prime is looking for production, and that's exactly what Zach Atkins brings. He's 6'4", 245-pound tight end. He's from Northwest Missouri State. A no-star recruit out of high school, but don't let that fool you. He's got 20 offers in the portal, and it's only been 2 days. So he's been to Ole Miss. He's got Arkansas visit coming up, South Carolina, and then it looks like he'll be at Colorado on December 15th. He had 30 catches last season. He's a potential instant impact player on offense, so we'll have to see how this visit goes. All right, moving on. Another wide receiver here. Wide receiver from Tulsa, Joseph Williams. Now, he was American Freshman of the Year award. He was up for it. He didn't win it, but he was up for it. Sounds like a visit will be set up here. Also in contact, Utah and Ole Miss. He goes 6'2", 195. He's a native of Texas, and as a true freshman, 30 catches, 5 touchdowns. So, once again, you're seeing the production. Now, there's one more name I want to give you. I don't know. Colorado might have contacted me, just hit the portal, but I think it could make sense here. Keep an eye on Charles Brantley from Michigan State, just hit the portal today, but he had a productive year, his best year in 2024. He had 3 interceptions. There's no talk yet, but he went to Venice High School, so he's from Venice, Florida, right around the corner from Fort Myers. This is just one where I could see it. Put this on your radar. We'll see what happens with Charles Brantley, but Colorado Buffs are buzzing right now in the transfer portal, and there's more to come. Like I said, we're only 48 hours, and it feels like 48 minutes. I wanted to get on here and give you guys a quick update. I'll be back for more on Colorado, but you guys talk to me. How are we feeling about some of these names? Who gets you most excited? I mean, I know Caleb Odom does. Do we think that gets done? Who else do the Colorado Buffs add? Let me know. Comment section below. Let's talk some Florida Gator recruiting, as the Gator high school class ended with a bang, and now the UF staff is hitting the portal hard. We're 2 days into transfer portal season, and the Gators already got some guys on campus. I got insider Corey Bender from Gators Online in this video. We're going to break down what are the Gators' most important targets heading into transfer portal season. All right, before we get to it, though, you guys do me a favor, smash that subscribe button. Okay, let's bring on Corey Bender, Gators Online. Some intriguing names. I definitely want to talk wide receivers because with DJ Lagway kind of planting his flag, he's not going anywhere. We know they're trying to add some skill players. But first, already some big names on campus. Let's start with Keyshawn Silver, the big defensive lineman from Kentucky. What are you hearing on him? How big of a priority is he?
Yeah, so it's funny with Silver. He was a major priority for Dan Mullen's staff, too. So a lot of people that have been covering Florida know his name very well. He visited a lot in the past. And with Florida, too, Caleb Banks, one of their best defensive linemen, he's coming back. That was a big thing instead of him going to the draft. So getting him back obviously kind of softens the blow a little bit, but they're still losing Desmond Watson and Cam Jackson. So Florida definitely needs more interior help, and he's really at the top of the board for them, one of the only defensive linemen they've offered in the portal. USC, Miami, and Michigan are the other schools involved, so Florida's getting the first OV. So when I see that schedule, it tells me that this kid probably isn't going to make a decision right off that first visit. Florida's going to have to kind of push off those schools as the week progresses, but he's familiar with Florida from back in the past when I spoke to him a lot too. He loves Gainesville. He's really kind of it's really about just growing closer to that staff and seeing how he'd fit in with them. But obviously there's opportunity for him. And I think as far as getting on the field early, Florida's one of those schools that kind of probably gives them the best shot. When you look at Miami on the list and USC, first thing you think is probably NIL. I know it's going to be an NIL battle with this kid, but I think overall Florida has to feel pretty good. He's on campus for 2 days. And I think the biggest thing, Josh, we always talk about it, who's fresh in your mind, who gets the last visit. That might be the thing here. Florida's the first out of 4 visits for him. So Florida really has to make a good impression to kind of push off those schools as the week progresses. But from everything we've heard, Florida definitely has a really good shot with them. And he obviously sees the opportunity to play early. And NIL won't be an issue as far as in Gainesville either.
Yeah, it seems like a good fit. If it works out with these visits, the Gators got to hold on, make a really strong impression on this first trip. Another intriguing name, quarterback. I know, hey, he's expected in today, though. Justin Martin from UCLA. Yep. I get it. This is UF's looking for a quality backup here. We're not talking about replacing DJ Lagway, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely not, man. And I kind of said last week, too, it's a kind of an interesting scenario where it's kind of hard to recruit the position. You get Tramel Jones, obviously from the high school level, but he's going to be a true freshman, and he missed all this year due to injury. So you obviously can't expect too much from him right away. And with Florida, I kind of said last week, they need some kid that has sample size that's shown them, hey, this kid can play at the next level, but also young enough where it's intriguing to them that, he has years of eligibility and he'll be able to sit behind DJ Lagway. And Justin Martin's one of those. Florida hasn't offered yet, but, signs kind of point to him probably getting an offer on the visit. He's here from Wednesday through Friday. So that's obviously a good sign for him. I don't think they would, if they're not going to offer him, I'd be surprised they would even bring him in for this long of a visit. But another name last night, Deshaun Purdy from Charlotte, they actually did offer him. So right now, there's 2 quarterbacks really kind of firmly on the board. Purdy, who they already offered, and then Justin Martin, who's in town. Right. As far as Deshaun Purdy, same type of situation. He played his freshman year. It's like I said, he had like a little over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Nothing too crazy, but it's enough to kind of show Florida, hey, you can play at this level. And like you said, he's only a freshman too, so he also has a red shirt available. So I think those are 2 names right now at the top of the board. I spoke to someone late last night. OV isn't set with Purdy as of yet, but that's a work in progress. And Florida, they're in the Gasparilla Bowl next week, and we put this on the site, but Florida doesn't plan to host any transfers all throughout next week and not until next weekend. So they're trying to get as many guys in this week because most of them are going to be at bowl prep. So we'll see if Purdy can kind of squeeze in a visit at the end of this week. I think right now he might be the most likely scenario just considering he has a scholarship offer.
Right. Okay, so going in chronological order, we got Keyshawn Silver's been on campus already for 2 days. Justin Martin will be on campus today, and then on Friday, another big visit. Yeah, he's from Jacksonville State, but safety Zachariah Poyser is drawing interest from some big dogs, and it's easy to see why. He's one of the best safety prospects in the portal right now. He's coming in Friday. What's the Gators' angle here with Poyser?
Yeah, so it's kind of Vernell Brown, his dad, he actually represents him with the NIL as an agent. He also is a former teammate of Vernell Brown III over at Wildwood. So Gainesville's an hour away from where he grew up. Obviously, you have the Brown family, that familiarity. So going into the visit, you have to feel pretty good. Obviously, it gives him an opportunity to play big-time football close to home. Auburn and LSU are both getting visits as well, so it's not going to be some just easy kind of he gets in the class. Obviously, he's going to take visits to all three schools this week. But when you kind of look at the outside looking in, Florida has some good safeties on the roster, but they're all Jordan Castell's a good player, but he's entering his junior year. You obviously have Hilton Stubbs coming in, and some other younger guys who are studs, but obviously they're going to be true freshmen. So with Poyser, it gives them a guy with experience who can kind of mentor that younger group, but also play on the field right away. It kind of reminds me of when they signed Trequezie Bridges last year from Oregon. It was the same type of thing. He came in and had a big impact and was ahead of those younger guys on the roster. But when you look at the him being an hour away from Gainesville and then his connection to Vernell Brown's family, you have to feel pretty good before going into this visit.
All right, let's get to the wide receiver position, because I think this is the position where the Gators can swing the biggest stick, because they have look, there's so many teams out there in the portal right now looking for a quarterback, and the Gators have one, so now they're looking for wide receivers. What's the buzz at the position right now, Corey?
Yeah, so Reggie Virgil, he's a guy at Miami, Ohio, really coveted, Florida State, Florida, Miami. He already has almost 20 offers since going in the portal, but he's from Mount Dora, so he grew up not too far from Gainesville as well. 6'4", a big threat, almost had 1,000 yards this past year at Miami, Ohio. So he's one guy Florida's really trying to push hard again on campus. I spoke to him again last night. He said, I'm trying to get to campus. But it started, Florida was one of the first major offers. Since then, all these offers have flooded in. So I think it's a tough decision to fit in all these visits. And like I said before, he wanted to visit next week during the week, but Florida's going to be at bowl prep. So they're trying to get that set up where he can come in before the end of this week. We'll see if that happens. But another one is Chase Sowell from East Carolina. His mom was actually an athlete at Florida. She attended there. So that's an offer in the family that they're all really excited about. Another guy obviously had big time production at ECU, a big target. And that's the thing with Florida. They have a lot of these smaller kind of in-space guys, Eugene Wilson, Vernell Brown, but they're looking for that big body target with Elijah Badger heading out. Shamir Dyke obviously is another one, Shamir DK. So obviously they need a few of these big body wide receivers to come to campus, and those are two guys that Florida has a really good shot with. With Chase Sowell, he actually has an OV scheduled for later this week. And you actually see on Twitter his dad quote tweeted when he got the offer, and you can see the excitement in the family. The kid hasn't named a leader or anything like that, but you can tell the family's really excited for him to maybe possibly follow in the footsteps of his mother. And two other guys worth mentioning is Oklahoma's Nick Anderson. He's another guy, missed all this year due to injury, but the year prior to that, he had about 800 yards receiving, another big body coming in from Oklahoma. We haven't received word yet if an OV is scheduled just yet, but Florida's on that short list. And another one, obviously, is Alabama's Caleb Odom. I think Colorado, you got to look at them as the early leader right now. He's going out to Boulder this weekend for an OV, but Florida was pushing hard for him out of high school. And they're going to be swinging the fences for him, too. Obviously, he's 6'5", an elite former 5-star guy. So like you said, Josh, they're swinging the fences for a lot of big-name guys in the portal. So I think when you look at familiar names that Florida could possibly get, I think it's at that wide receiver position.
Well, it is heating up in the portal for the Florida Gators. So Gator fans, talk to Corey and I. How are you feeling about these options? Who's your top target right now in the transfer portal? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's talk some Alabama recruiting, this time in the transfer portal. And as the portal opened on Monday, Alabama wasted no time. There's a couple key targets that are going to visit this week. We're going to break it all down. We got Tim Watts here from Bama Online. But first, Bama fans, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button for me. We're going to cover Alabama transfer portal like no other. All right. Tim, the first name I want to talk about is a familiar one, Kelby Collins. He's a native of Alabama. He played for the Gators for 2 years, had a really good freshman year, didn't see the field as much as a sophomore, but a highly coveted defensive lineman. What are the Tide's chances? How much of a priority is he?
Yeah, I think the Bama staff liked him originally out of high school. He's from Gardendale. He's not too far from Tuscaloosa. Well noted. His dad grew up a huge Bama fan, got him a Bama Hall of Fame, a little man cave. With all that. At the same time, Kelby had a really healthy NIL offer, wanted to get out of state, went to Florida, was really good as a freshman. Obviously, moved positions, didn't do as well as a sophomore, so looking for a change of pace. I think he's visiting Texas A&M, then Alabama on Thursday and Friday, and probably having a decision this weekend. I guess that's subject to change, but Alabama would like to add him. I mean, it's happened so quick. We knew Kelby announced early he was going in, but these portal visits are moving quick. People want to get decisions behind him. So I think we're waiting to see how Alabama does this weekend on the visit, but he also has Texas A&M right in front of him.
All right, another player I want to talk about is Luke Haas. He's leaving Arkansas as a tight end transfer. Really productive first year on campus. He was named to the 2024 John Mackey Award watch list. He was injured a little bit. Now he's in the portal. We know Alabama wants a tight end. How much of a priority is Luke?
Well, he's another familiar name. Alabama was heavily involved with him out of the recruiting process. Hard to pull him out of his own home state. Bama did a great job there. Finished second to Arkansas, some family connections. So this, even though it's a new staff, Bama's got some familiarity to him. The tight end position, something that I think Kalen DeBoer's offense really likes to work with. We've seen him bring in other guys. Josh Cuevas is one. Seen him sign a few in this class with Caleb Edwards and Marshall Pritchett. So obviously the tight end position. But when you get a guy that's got experience and upside like Luke does, I think Alabama's going to take a long look at him. He's also visiting Ole Miss, LSU. I'm not sure if he's got others planned. So, again, all these guys will be coming in on Thursday, Friday type visits at 48-hour window.
Wow, it's going to be exciting. All right, one of the top wide receivers in the transfer portal right now is wide receiver Kevin Concepcion. He's out of NC State. I'm assuming there's some sort of tie here with the NC State standout.
Yeah, one of the back guys in the office, Sanders, he's a guy that had a connection. He was at NC State, and he had a connection, helped recruit him originally. He's another one visiting Texas A&M, and you're right, he's going to be a hot commodity, guys. So I know everybody's trying to jump on him quick, get that wrapped up. Wide receiver, you've seen a few of them go, hit the portal. Kendrick Law, not a shock. He didn't have the productive year he wanted. Caleb Odom, probably more of a tight end for Alabama system, but I think Pete Nakos just reported he's visiting Colorado. So have some room there. But think about Alabama with wide receivers. They're just looking for quality. It's not they're not so much quantity, having huge numbers. They're just looking for guys that can come in and impact. And if you look what they got in Ryan Williams, who did commit to Kalen DeBoer, they bought Jeremy Bernard with them from Washington. Those are two highly productive guys. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Caleb Odom and Law, both kind of notable names that have left the program. Is there anybody else right now that Bama fans need to keep an eye on that roster that could still hit the portal? Or do you think the threat of leaving is gone now?
No, I don't think the threat of leaving's ever gone, not even, until the 28th when that window closes for Alabama. I think what you saw was Alabama missed the playoffs on Sunday, so their portal window opened up quicker because I think if you get the playoffs, you have guys waiting to see if they'll play. You probably don't have everybody that's entered going in. Some of them are going in no matter what the playoff turned out to be. But you got guys that now, you're sitting down and you're talking, what's going to be the quarterback situation next year? Where am I going to play next year? How's this fit? Figuring out if not only are they a fit for Alabama, but Alabama also has to figure out if that's a fit for what they're looking for. Because you remember, Kalen DeBoer spent 30 days last year getting poached, never being the poacher. They had that late portal period, but it was a very small window, not as much to choose from. This is the first time he's really got to play a level, as far as the portal game goes, play on a level playing field.
Yeah, and these are exciting times. That's just a quick look at some of the names that'll be on campus this week. Much more to come in the transfer portal for Alabama. So, Bama fans, talk to Tim and I. What do you guys think the biggest need is? And of the names we mentioned, who do you think Bama lands? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's talk some Oregon Ducks recruiting. Dan Lanning is jumping head first into the transfer portal. They're wasting no time looking at some key players at position of need. And in this video, I got Max Torres from Scoop Duck. We're going to talk about some of the early targets that the Ducks are zeroing in on. But first, Duck fans, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button. We are talking Oregon recruiting, whether it's high school, whether it's transfer portal. It's going down right here, so jump on board and hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring in Max Torres from Scoop Duck. And we already know that the Ducks are focusing in at a couple players. We're going to hit on two that have visits scheduled, per the great Steve Wiltfong. Dylan Thieneman of Purdue is one of the best safeties on the market, and he's going to be in probably within the next week. What is it about him? How does he fit in, and why are the Ducks so zeroed in on him right now?
With Dylan Thieneman, I think this is a safety that can do a little bit of everything. Certainly brings that physical brand of football that you look for in any safety. But I think what the Ducks really want in their secondary next year, particularly at that safety spot, is a safety who can cover. So being able to target a guy like that in the transfer portal is going to be of the utmost importance. And I think what also makes this situation special for Oregon and the former Purdue safety is that he's only a sophomore. So I think this is someone who could potentially be with your defense for multiple years. I think that Oregon has probably been dipping into the portal a little bit more than they'd like for safeties in the past couple of years. So you maybe are looking again at the portal for some guys to come in, but this is a multi-year guy, so can help you string together a little bit more continuity at a really important position. So we know that Oregon's always in contention for top talent, and that looks like it's going to be the case again in this transfer cycle.
All right. Now there's another big defensive lineman that's back in the portal. That's Bear Alexander. He's leaving USC this time, and he announced with Hayes Fawcett of On3 that Oregon is in his top 3. So why does Bear Alexander make sense for the Ducks right now?
I think Bear Alexander makes sense for Oregon because he's entering such an important year in his own career, and there's a little bit of a need for Oregon at defensive line. They have Jabari Caldwell and Derek Harmon. Caldwell doesn't have any more eligibility, but Harmon could come back for a year if he wants. I don't think that's likely with the kind of season that he's having, Josh. But for a guy like Bear Alexander, he's been at a couple different spots, but has shown a tremendous amount of potential. And if you're looking at someone like Jordan Birch, who was another highly touted recruit that wasn't necessarily putting it all together at his last spot, South Carolina, what does he do? He flies out west to play for Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoi, Tony Tuioti, and now he's one of the best defensive linemen in college football. So I think Bear Alexander probably sees that in Oregon and what he's able to do potentially in that defense. The Ducks need some reinforcements on the interior. So I think Bear Alexander's the guy that is an early name to watch here, and we'll see if they can make a move sooner rather than later when he gets out to Eugene for a visit.
All right. A really intriguing name that hit the portal yesterday was Williams Nwaneri. A year ago at this time, he was a top 10 player in America, getting ready to early enroll at Mizzou. Step on campus now. A year later, he's in the transfer portal. So we know the Ducks were a finalist for him coming out of high school. Do you think that this is a name that Duck fans need to know? Do you think this is a name that Oregon will pursue?
I think that Williams Nwaneri is a name to know, but I don't think I put him in that upper tier as far as someone I've heard a lot of traction with for Oregon or see Oregon as a likely destination at this point. Of course, Josh, we know how fluid transfer portal recruiting is, so I could be telling you a different story tomorrow, later down the line this week. You never know, but I don't think that Oregon is necessarily a school that's going to be prioritizing Williams Nwaneri, especially with how they've recruited that position in past years, with how well their defensive line and outside linebackers have played this year, with a guy like Mateo Uyunglele, Tatum Tuioti coming back this next season. I don't think that that's a huge need for them. Keep in mind, they also have a former 5-star, highly touted recruit, Elijah Rushing, waiting in the wings. Blake Purchase there as well. So I think that Oregon could definitely kick the tires here. But I don't think they're going to make the biggest of pushes. I think they'd probably save those efforts for someone else.
All right. How about another Trojan? We already talked Bear Alexander, but there was news that Deuce Robinson is going to hit the portal or already has hit the portal. Is there any – I know Duck fans, they're always watching these big USC departures. So is Deuce Robinson one that's on the radar?
I don't think I would put him on the radar too much for Oregon at this point in time. Of course, he's a big name, one that Oregon was in the running for up until he ended up signing with the Trojans coming out of high school. But I think that his use in development has taken a little bit of a different route, with him playing more of that receiver role versus a tight end role. And I think Oregon needs a true tight end, especially after missing out on a couple of coveted targets at the end of the 2025 cycle and Andrew Olesh and Lincoln Cure. So I think they're looking for more of that traditional inline blocker, someone more like a Patrick Herbert, who's currently on the team, or even someone who can do a little bit of both, like Terrence Ferguson, who's been a mainstay of that Oregon offense. I think Deuce Robinson maybe resembles a little bit more of a Kenyon Sadiq, who's more athletic and can be used in a lot of different ways. But I don't think that his play style is necessarily the biggest need that Oregon has right now in this transfer portal cycle.
All right, so portal going absolutely crazy. We're only 48 hours in. We know the Ducks are going to address some needs. They're going to get some players out of the portal. But what would you say are the biggest needs that you expect Oregon to address in the next 2 to 3 weeks?
I think the biggest one would probably be offensive line right now, with right tackle Ajani Cornelius set to depart. And then Josh Connerly Jr. has solidified himself as one of the best tackles in America now. But Josh, he's only a junior, so it could come back for another year if he so chose to. But Oregon has to prepare for all possibilities, so I expect them to look for some help there. Particularly at tackle. You're also Marcus Harper, who is a guard for your team. He'll run out of eligibility. So offensive line is definitely one of those needs for Oregon. Defensive line, I think they take a guy or two. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Safety, of course. You'll see them address some needs in the secondary with all of their safeties that are playing big roles this year set to depart. Maybe a corner. I think they could go into the portal for one corner, a guy who has some more experience. But I think that's probably the rundown. You could also throw a running back potentially in that mix because we don't know what Jordan James is going to do after this season. So I know Oregon's kind of keeping their options open in that regard and keeping tabs on some of the top guys that are hitting that transfer portal. So that's kind of a super quick rundown. You could also say backer. I mean, there's a lot of needs kind of throughout the roster. It's just varying numbers, I guess would be the best way to put it.
All right, well, Oregon is already getting very active. They're only going to get even more. So, Duck fans, talk to us. What do you think the biggest need is, and who is your most important target in the transfer portal? Let us know. Comment section below. We are one day into the portal, and now I want to talk wide receivers. Got Pete Nakos here. He is our portal expert at On3, and we're going to jump right into it. Pete, it seems like Georgia Tech's Eric Singleton Jr. has emerged as the most coveted wide receiver in the market right now.
Yeah.
One, is that true? And two, what are his options right now?
Definitely the most coveted. Exchanged some texts with him last night. Two early schools to watch are Auburn and Ole Miss. He's going to take visits there. It was reported Georgia was going to be in the mix, a possible visit. He shot that down. He's not going to go to Georgia. I don't know if that's like a Georgia Tech thing or whatnot, but he is going to go to Auburn and Ole Miss on visits.
Interesting. All right, so let's move on to North Carolina State wide receiver KC Concepcion. He is also highly coveted. Heard a lot about him when he jumped in the portal.
Yeah.
Who has come out on him early?
So this is a player with a lot of upside who's already proven a lot of NC State how talented he is. And now it's clear that he wants to bring his talents to the SEC and prove at a very high level that he's a top-notch wide receiver. Bama Online and Steve Wiltfong have really done a lot of reporting around this. I had been told Alabama and A&M were schools to watch, but now it's been reported by those guys that he's at Texas A&M, I believe, starting Wednesday, and will close out the week at Alabama. So we'll have to see how that comes together. But obviously, two schools need wide receivers. We're really high on KC.
All right, let's talk about a couple SEC wideouts, then we'll wrap it up with a former five-star. Now, Kentucky, they're losing a pair in Berrien Brown and Dane Key. I don't think their recruitments are tied, but we're going to talk about them together. What are you hearing first on Berrien Brown?
Yeah, Berrien Brown, extremely talented, really fast. Probably one of the fastest. Yeah, I mean, and what he can do in special teams is incredible. Early school to watch here is LSU. Okay. They've been the Tigers since he announced he's going to enter. We'll have to see how it comes together. Ole Miss was another school in it, but now they're going after Eric Singleton. And then, Florida State needs a wide receiver. And I think they'd actually like to bring in more than one, to be honest with you. So they're doing everything they can to get Berrien Brown, but I really like where LSU is right now.
All right, now how about Dane Key?
Dane Key, another intriguing option. He actually had a better season at Kentucky this year than Berrien Brown. Yeah. So the two schools to watch here are Georgia, who obviously needs wide receivers, another SEC school, and then his old wide receivers coach is now at Nebraska. So by no means is Nebraska like a lock or anything like that. But Nebraska is just one school to keep an eye on, especially when we go through this process where the Huskers are trying to make sure Dylan Raiola remains happy and put some weapons around him.
All right. LSU wide receiver C.J. Daniels is on the move again. Who are you hearing here?
C.J. Daniels is interesting. I think he went to LSU with this idea that he was going to become a standout SEC wide receiver, and all of that is still in front of him. But this season just did not go the way I think he envisioned. So I think the big thing for him is going to an offense that likes to pass the ball, but where he's obviously going to be one of the top wide receivers on the roster, and he's going to have an opportunity to prove himself. So I think there's a lot of options out there. Talked to someone last night. He's trying to get his visits lined up, and I think we'll know a lot more when that comes together.
All right. Former 5-star Micah Hudson. We were covering him this time last year. He was all set. Well, he had just signed with Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Now his recruitment is back on. His recruitment in high school was really weird because considering he was the number 2 ranked wide receiver in America, he committed to Texas Tech in the summer and never heard a peep from him after that. Will it be as quiet in the portal?
It's been extremely quiet.
Really?
It's been hard to get into on Micah Hudson.
Of course it is.
Yeah. 2 schools I have an eye on, LSU and Texas A&M. I was told that LSU was like an early leader, but that was like a week ago. Things change. I think this is going to be one where, you're going to have to keep making phone calls like I am and trying to figure out where he's going to end up. And like that Texas Tech recruitment, like he's not going to go to Texas.
Okay.
And
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. So like, I think that this one's going to be, one we just have to keep following and trying to put some puzzle pieces together on.
All right, before I let you go, speaking of Texas, what is the word on wide receiver Jonte Cook? I know he's not in the portal yet, but what are you hearing?
Yeah, Jonte Cook is another intriguing one. I think Jonte Cook looks at Texas A&M. I reported yesterday that Oregon was a school to watch. I think Oregon's going to back off on that one. We'll have to continue to monitor all that, but I don't expect Oregon to be the biggest player in that recruitment. So yeah, Michael Hudson and Jonte Cook are very similar, where they're gonna, make their own decisions, keep it really on the DL, and probably stick in the SEC if I were to bet.
All right, well, that's a quick look at the wide receiver position. We're going to do more of these breakdowns. What other positions do you guys want to hear about? Let us know. And also, where are these wide receivers going to land? Comment section below. What's up, guys? We made it through the first day of the portal. There was a lot of action, so I got Pete Nakos here. He's our On3 portal expert, and I want to do these videos almost daily where we do a quick rundown position by position. Today, we're starting with quarterback, of course. A lot of developments. Let's start with USC quarterback transfer Miller Moss. Now, you had a report. You talked to some sources. Who's involved here? And you also made a note that wherever Moss lands, there's a potential for a USC package to follow. What's that mean?
Yeah, so Miller Moss expected at Missouri and Louisville this week. He'll be at Louisville starting Wednesday night. Visit will start Thursday. Reported with Steve Wolfong on that. Sources have continued to tell me that there is a possibility that wherever Miller Moss lands, a USC package could follow him, and that could include a couple wide receivers. So that's like all I'm willing to share at this point. We'll see more once he makes a decision and see how that comes together. But that's been talked about behind the scenes.
Really interesting note there. All right, let's keep it moving. Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold. New prediction, Mississippi State for him. Now, I'll let you get into that. But I also wonder, is this the first QB domino that could fall, or were you just ready for a prediction here?
A little bit of both. I think this could be one of the first to fall. We actually had Walker Howard, the Ole Miss quarterback transfer, already committed to Louisiana earlier this morning. The one thing about Jackson Arnold here is Jeff Lebby kind of brought him to Norman. It makes a lot of sense to go back with him in Starkville, get an offense he wanted to play in college, and with someone that he trusts and thinks will help his development. I've also thrown out schools like Auburn and Georgia here just because of how high the ceiling can be for Jackson Arnold. We know he struggled at Oklahoma, but there's still a lot of upside that I think a lot of schools want to be part of. As turned in when it comes to the prediction of Jackson Arnold to Mississippi State, I really like where the Bulldogs sit right now, and I think they're on track to land him.
Cool. All right. Texas A&M quarterback Connor Wegman, well, former Texas A&M QB Connor Wegman, he's one of the big names on the board right now. What are his options at this point?
Yeah, someone like Connor Wegman, it kind of needs the rest of these dominoes to fall, right? So we talked about Miller Moss in Missouri and Louisville. Well, if he goes to Louisville, which I like right now because Louisville has made very clear that they're going all in, I think he quickly becomes QB1 on the board for Missouri. And then similar to that, right, Syracuse is kind of bringing in a carousel of quarterbacks this week.
They're definitely entertaining.
So Rick Hollins is there today. That's been reported by another outlet and was able to confirm that. And then Caden Salter is expected there this week. I think Connor Wegman in Syracuse make too much sense for him not to check it out, especially with the former Texas A&M defense coordinator Elijah Robinson now on staff. Some familiarity there. I think this is going to be one, Josh, where I don't expect a decision imminently.
Gotcha. Okay. QB Caden Salter, leaving Liberty, already has a visit set to Syracuse on Friday that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Colorado, Auburn, UCLA also involved. We know they're all looking for transfer quarterbacks. What do you think of Caden Salter's recruitment? Is this still early for him? Because he's probably scheduled more visits than any other quarterback right now.
Yeah, I think the early indication signs are Caden Salter would love to make a decision on the quicker end and just kind of, get on campus, get settled in, get things going.
So he could, the way the visits are set up, sometimes we see it. It's like, some of these guys, it's not like recruiting necessarily. Like some of these guys take a first visit, they fall in love, they're done.
Yeah, no, and by no means am I saying that he's going to get to Syracuse and commit, but I think he would prefer to make this a little quicker than slower.
That's right.
So let's run this down real quick. So Syracuse clearly needs a quarterback. Got some confirmation this morning for sure that Kyle McCord is not returning at Syracuse. He'll go to the draft. And beyond that, right, so Syracuse, Ricky Collins, Caden Salter, there's a couple other ones. So that's Syracuse. You look at Colorado, extremely intriguing. They brought in Juju Lewis, the highly touted quarterback in the 2025 class. When we saw Juju commit to Colorado, we all somewhat assumed that he was going to start in year one. Well, they're going to need someone else to help them out. Caden Salter could make a lot of sense. Florida State was initially mentioned as a school to watch here. The Seminoles are not as involved as we all initially thought. And then, UCLA has kind of had a quarterback exodus, right? Justin Martin's leaving. Like, they're going to need someone. I view that more as a backup option at this point.
All right, let's move on to Boston College quarterback Thomas Castellanos. Now, you mentioned FSU out of it for Caden Salter. Are they all in on Castellanos? It seems like with the ties to Gus Malzahn from Castellanos' time at UCF, like they could have a foot in the door there.
All my early indications here are that Gus Malzahn and Florida State are doing everything they can to get Thomas Castellanos. That starts off with that visit on Wednesday. He confirmed that to us yesterday. And the one thing here with Thomas Castellanos is he committed to UCF to play for Gus Malzahn. It's a reoccurring theme in the transfer portal where you have guys who want to find a place closer at home or play for someone they almost played for coming out of high school. And he was in that UCF system. He was behind John Reese Plumlee, and then transferred to Boston College and all that.
FSU was heavily involved with Thomas Castellanos. I was covering this recruitment, and they were actually recruiting him more as a running back.
So, okay.
Out of high school. And a lot of teams where he's a great athlete, but, Boston College recruited, or UCF recruited him as a quarterback. He signed there, ends up at Boston College, now maybe reuniting with Gus Malzahn. That visit's happening tomorrow as we tape this on Tuesday. You think that could, is that one where if it lines up, he could commit on that trip?
I think it could pop soon. I think the one interesting thing here about Thomas Castellanos is he is a phenomenal athlete.
Yeah.
Florida State also has two quarterbacks in that room already. So the idea of bringing someone in who has, he's a veteran, he's athletic, he can play right away, that's really attractive. They're not trying to bring in a project. They're trying to bring in someone who knows what Gus Malzahn's offense is going to look like and then help those two guys, Brock Glenn and Luke Kromenhoek, develop a little bit.
All right. Well, there it is at the quarterback position. There could be more names coming in, but this is just the first day. So you guys let us know, what position would you like us to recap next? Also, where do you think some of these quarterbacks are going to land? Let us know in the comment section below.